never failed to drive her wild before dragging his tongue back up the column of her throat, just like he was doing now in her semi-conscious dream. Cara squirmed. While she couldn't deny the pleasure her memories brought, her head hurt so badly that any sudden movements might have resulted in some form of an aneurysm. Fantasy Finn, guitar player and kisser extraordinaire, seemed to suffer no such plight. He was relentless, licking her neck, then moving lower to lick her arm before nudging his snout under the palm of her hand and whimpering. "What?" Cara forced her eyes open to find a black-furred canine prodding her hand for a pat. Wait, she knew that face. She knew that white streak across its nose. Oscar Wilde. No, not Oscar Wilde. Oscar the dog, named after Oscar Wilde. Finn's dog. What was Finn's dog doing in her hotel room? Oh no. Cara's brain finally caught up to her reality as she slowly took in her surroundings. Navy blue walls covered with posters advertising a local band, a small wooden desk holding a pile of books and a few empty beer bottles, a guitar case propped against the far corner, and green and blue striped curtains that were askew and doing a crappy job blocking even a fraction of the sunlight. The room was far from that of a luxury hotel chain because it wasn't a hotel room at all. It was a bedroom. It was Finn's bedroom. She turned her head slowly so as not to crank up the volume on the distorted drum solo of Everlong currently playing behind her eyeballs, to find the man himself fast asleep on the pillow beside her. Even hungover as hell, Cara couldn't help but appreciate the sight of him. Everything from the impossibly long lashes that fanned out over his cheeks, to the stubble that covered his strong jaw, to the smattering of dark brown hair in the center of his otherwise bare chest. Bare chest. A moment of clarity filtered through her hangover, and as it did, Cara realized Finn's wasn't the only bare chest in the room. She glanced down at the hunter green sheet draped across her body, covering one boob while exposing the other in some sort of half-assed version of a toga. She was absolutely naked beneath, something that should have occurred to her the minute she woke up. But to be fair, she wasn't exactly operating on all cylinders. She closed her eyes again, then pressed the heels of her hands against the lids in a pathetic attempt to quiet the pounding long enough to piece together the string of events. 1. She'd had far too much to drink. 2. She'd kissed Finn at the pub. 3. She was naked in his bed. Didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. And while points 1 and 2 weren't exactly her finest moments, if Cara were honest with herself, they weren't what was causing the queasy feeling deep inside her. It was the fact that she'd spent the night with Mr. Sexy Brogue, and yet she had absolutely no recollection of actually having sex with him. She could practically hear her friend Julia's reaction. "Way to go, Cara! Only you would finally have a vacation fling and yet somehow manage to come home without any memories as a souvenir." Oscar whimpered in what sounded like empathy, but in reality was just a plea for affection. "I hear you, buddy," Cara thought. "I just can't quite lift up my arm yet." Or speak words out loud, which was just as well, seeing as how she wanted to collect her wits, not to mention her clothes, before Finn woke up. "Morning," a groggy voice said next to her. So much for making herself somewhat presentable before he saw her. Cara lifted her hands off her face and opened her eyes. Finn was staring at her from across the pillow, looking about 1,000% better than she felt. Not only were his green eyes clear and bright, but he was actually smiling. She really shouldn't have been surprised. Finn McGuire had been smiling pretty much since the moment they'd met. "Morning,"